Dixon, is he a pretty serious guy? Is he?
When we're not playing kickball.
Does he ever tell a joke?
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're probably awful jokes. Just the world's worst jokes. Well, he seems like a pretty serious guy to me. And I think that's good because he seems like he takes a pretty serious approach to wanting to make music. And so I enjoyed listening to your performance of it. Not only my music, of course I'm biased. I like to hear my music, but I like to hear other people's music played equally as well. So I really enjoyed your performance. So what kind of a group are you? I've asked this question of most of the groups that I've come up to, and I've always said, are you the kind that wants to hear the good things? You want to hear the bad things? Or you want to hear everything? Everything. So should I start off with a good or a bad?
Bad.
Wow, you're brutal with yourself, aren't you? All right, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you, the worst thing that I thought you did was that I thought there was perhaps maybe a little lapse of concentration. I noticed a few glitches every so often. You know, maybe we took the wrong first or second ending. We started early on a piece when the percussion had to play for a couple bars. We came in early on the last piece. I think somebody came in on the percussion part right there. So those are all little errors that can be corrected so easy if you just concentrate. I don't know if you have to make a mental note in your music and remind yourself that you don't start right away at the beginning. And Mr. Dixon, I'm going to tell you
Yes, sir.
that I have the same problem, and I conduct adults.
Yes, sir.
And they make the same kind of errors. And the one thing that I try to do to maybe help the situation is when I get on the podium and I bring my hands up, and let's say it starts with the percussion. One of the first things I say to the ensemble when I put my hands up, percussion. And here's percussion. So I remind them of those kind of entries where they don't play for a couple bars. So
Even during a performance like this, sir?
well, yes. Now I don't say it so loud that the whole audience can hear, but I can step up on the podium and say, "Here's horns." So sometimes I make little verbal reminders to let them know that there's something that's going to happen at the beginning that's a little out of the norm, because the most standard thing to do is we play at the beginning.
Yes, sir.
And so I don't think they make those mistakes on purpose, but it is a lack of concentration. So you have to be aware of when to play and when not to play. How's that for a critical comment? Can you buy that? Can you accept that? Okay. Good. One of the things that I really like is I like Mr. Dixon's approach that he doesn't let you play too loud. I think he plays with a real controlled approach to playing, which I think really enhances your tone and your ability to play in tune. I see too many band directors who just unleash. What does it say? Unleash the beast, and it says forte. It says fortis. Well, let's play as loud. No. He plays with a nice controlled sound. You really have a pretty sound. And he's able to take the top end of his controlled sound and still make a difference in the bottom, playing the softer things, okay? So I think that was a good thing. When you do play the soft things, you must support. You must support the sound. And you must put a lot of air through the horn, but not necessarily a lot of sound through the horn. One of the things I'll say to students sometimes, and they'll look at me like I'm crazy, but think about what I'm saying. When you have to play a soft passage, especially in the low woodwinds, shout as quietly as you can. Does that make sense? Shout as quietly as you can. All right? Another thing that I want you to be a little aware of, and this is something you have to work out between you and Mr. Dixon, is I'm a big believer that the shortest of notes should still have a little presence of tone.
Yes, sir.
Just a little presence of tone. So when you get to the last note of like the march, or the last note of maybe above and beyond, I still want to hear a little tone on that last note.
So staccatos are maybe a little too staccato, sir? Or
for me personally, now
Yes.
not everybody might agree with me.
well, I value your opinion, Mr. Swearingen. So.
You're very kind. So, but I often find that short notes are played too short.
Yes, sir.
So just the barest hint of tone would be a nice addition to that. Other than that, I like the way you played Above and Beyond. I want to compliment the percussionist.
Mhm.
providing nice complimentary parts. Maybe you don't want me to give the percussionist.
No, they earned it. I think they did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, and I want to tell you another section that really impressed me was, and I'm looking around because, is there a bass clarinet in the ensemble?
Yes, sir. Madeline.
Okay, so we did have Madeline.
Yes.
Madeline, the bass clarinet player. Do we have a Barry sax?
No, sir.
And we don't have a bassoon, do we?
No, sir.
So what, when you stop and think about the hierarchy of what we want to hear,
Yep.
and I've said this before, Jim Barnes, noted composer, always talks about melody is the most important thing we want to hear. The bass line is the second most important thing we
Yep.
want to hear. I liked our tuba player here.
Mhm.
I think this is a pretty good, now be humble, be humble. I like the tuba playing, and I like the addition of the bass guitar playing. I've often said, and we've got one bass clarinet, Madeline, who's carrying the load right here, and the numbers speak for itself.
Yes,
we only
sir.
have 3 people and a plethora of musicians here, and to balance out that bottom, I don't care if you get a keyboard bass, something like that, a bass guitar, a double bass player, borrow
Yes,
that
sir.
from the orchestra, anything that you can do to add to the bottom of the band is going to assist the depth of sound. Because the other thing I say is the sound of the band should emanate from the bottom on up.
Yep.
And 90% of the bands I hear, the sound emanates from the top down to the bottom, and it diminishes, and then we get that treble sounding band, which I don't like. I like that has the full depth of sound.
Yes,
You
sir.
seem to have pretty good sound from your low players, from your mid players, your alto saxes. Did we have any horns?
No, sir. No,
Okay.
no horns in this
Okay,
class.
with saxes, you did a pretty good job of imitating the horn sections, all right? And nice, flutes, clarinets, trumpets, and the whole, you've got a nice ensemble.
I think so.
Okay? I think
Yes, sir.
It's got a
Thank
nice
you.
balance of sound. What questions do you want to ask me? Yes, sir.
Do you believe the band was balanced?
Do I believe the band was balanced? I think the band was balanced in many respects. Okay? So once again, the balance all is predicated on melody, bass line, then counter melody, then harmonic accompaniment, and then percussion, and all those groups working together. Okay? And I'm a big believer that we're not a group of individuals, we're an individual group. And we're only as successful as what everybody contributes. You might think you're the most important person in the band, but the truth is, you're no more important than this young lady here and this young lady. And like I said earlier in the day, I just wish there was some way they could invent horns that we could play, that we could still hold hands together and kind of unite for the cause of playing music and
Yes, sir.
the enjoyment of music, which you seem to do quite well. Another question. No more questions?
Well, would you mind telling us a little bit about Above and Beyond and either what was your inspiration for that, or kind of what you went through while you were writing it? A little bit more about the music they played.
When I taught at a high school for 14 years. When I arrived at the high school, I met the students for the first time, and a special note to me was a young lady that I met who was a clarinet player in the band. Her name was Nancy Yaus. She was a 9th grader in the band. Can you imagine that? I was 20-some years old at the time, and I met this 9th grader, and she was so sweet and so nice. And I remember kind of joking with her. I said, Miss Yaus, I said, if you keep behaving like you are, I'll never learn your name, because I always learn the troublemakers first, and then the good kids I learn about the time they're a sophomore or maybe a junior or something. I had a
Right.
big band. I had like 257 in my marching band. And so I told her that, I don't know if I'll ever learn her name. Well, I did learn her name. And she was a sweet girl. Her sister played in the band. Her parents were active as band boosters. And lo and behold, she became a teacher. And I had the privilege of hiring her so that she could teach at one of my middle schools. And then eventually she told me one day that she was going to retire. And I said, what's wrong with this picture? She's retiring. I'm not. I was still teaching, and she was, ready to step out of the band directing scene. So I wrote a piece for her. And I wrote this piece, Above and Beyond. And it was just an expression of gratitude for a wonderful relationship that I still have with this young lady. She plays now in my community band. She and her husband and I, we go out to dinner every so often. She says nice things about me. I say nice things about her. You surround yourself with people who say nice things to you as much as you can, all right? Would you say nice things about me if you had a chance? Thank you. I'll say nice things about you. What's your name? Sarah. Okay, Sarah. Any other questions? One more question. Yes.
Well, I was wondering about our crescendos.
What is it?
Our crescendos.
Yeah. I thought we did a pretty good job on the crescendos, and I've been kind of picking on people today about not doing a good job. You know, so I think you did a nice job. Shall we play the last 16 bars of Above and Beyond? Is that what you want me to do?
Well, I would love for you to do whatever you'd like. That'd be
Did you
wonderful.
take
Maybe.
the torque?
Actually,
I got this
I haven't
memorized?
used one for a couple of weeks. We've done this so much, but we can get you one.
Give me a
Do
blue
you-
part.
Okay, that'll work.
You got an extra
Anybody got a
blue part?
spare paper? Can you give them one of those? Just give them one of your papers. You guys share. There we go.
Let's start at 46. Ready? Eyes. You're not going to play for me? You're going to make me look bad here? Come on, here we go. 46. And 1, 2, ready. Play the last note. Ready? Tone. Ready? And down. And down. And stand up. Starting to face the audience. Starting to face the audience. Okay. I enjoyed meeting. All right. See you.
You guys don't know, but you just met the real James Swearingen right there. None of that's an act. That
I
is, he is.
absolutely believe it.
Yeah.
Everybody say thank you, Mr. Swearingen.
You want to take a picture real quick?